Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the pYanodons playthrough. Fantastic Mr. Ghost. And we're looking at the next project, Aerogel. And, you know, true to pYanodons form, we got to go down 20 different rabbit holes before we can get back to the main project, which is Arcwood MKO2s. But we need the Aerogel in order to make, I think it's Dhilmos, which are water creatures, and we need the cubs for the Arcwood MKO2 spin-up part once we get the Arcwood MKO2s from the percent chance part. So I wanted to work on the aerogel to get that squared away, and then the aerogel will also allow me to make the filtration media, and instead of the 3x recipe, I'll be able to do a 100x recipe, but that's another story because there's another part we need for that. But last episode, I rebuilt and flowed the new automation science build, and let me tell you, this thing is nice. I really like how nice and tight it is, and it's the same amount of automation science I had prior and a smaller footprint. Imagine that. I cut in a lane here to pick up automation science, and I have ChemSci here so I could do the creature spin-ups, and you know, this is just to get the items up into the area there, the bio hub. I don't need usually both at the same time, and if a train has to wait for a few minutes, that doesn't bother me at all. Another thing about automation science is as we go up in the research tree, the requirement for automation science goes up, as well as all the other science packs. And automation science is used in ChemSci. And what I mean by that is the nuclear sample uses automation science. And right here, I'm piping over or belting over the automation science right to the nuclear sample. So it uses a little bit there, and that increases the requirement even more. So it's good that I rebuilt it, and I have a good working system there. The question is, can I feed it? If I can, great. Also, that build can be reproduced, but most likely I'd rather increase the amount and rebuild based on new requirements. So once I was done faffing about with the automation science and flowing that, I got to work on the quality Vrauk food. And this got me to thinking, maybe it's time to start working on a farming build that's specific for farming, and I might have to break down and start training these plants around. More on that later. And once I got the food, we did the spin up, got our Vrauks, and it happened very quick. So I didn't want to go too crazy on that episode. I just wanted to close out the Vrauk MKO3s and be done with it. You'll also notice that I have the Sea Sponge MKO2 moved up here as well. Let's go take a look at that. So the Sea Sponge build was used by the Vrauk MKO3 spin-ups, and I found a couple upgrades that I had to do here. Once I did the MKO2 paddock, or what is this thing called? Oh, the Sponge Culture. Once I upgraded these to MKO2s with MKO2 modules, the muddy sludge needed to be upgraded, so you can see I doubled it up top there and moved it. Used to be down here. And I also needed another sponge culture, so now this is working really good. Now the Vrauk builds, which I have two of, are fully upgraded with MKO3 modules and MKO2 paddocks. Craft speed of 2. Now these Vrauks are slow, and someone made a comment on a video prior, a couple weeks ago, why was I using formic acid for, you know, the rubber process, basically. It's latex. And my answer to that is they're too slow. The rendering, the production of the Vrauks to the rendering, it really is tough to get a lot of formic acid, and I'm running at a very high level right now. So I switched it over to chemical process. And the issue with that is formamide and sulfuric acid, ammonia. Well, I built the base up to handle that now, where I'm using animals still, but for, you know, it's the augs for ammonia. And the aug builds are pretty good. I get a lot of use out of the aug builds. Chances are I might go back and try the Vrauks once I get a little higher up, but I found that I like to use the machines over aliens if I can, because feeding these things and the size, I think really what gets me is the size of the builds. The paddocks and the reproduction complexes are just enormous. So it takes up so much space, and also you have to feed it so much raw material. It just gets out of control, and I like the idea of the chemical-based builds. They just seem more effective to me. But I could pop a Varrock build down and get some formic acid out of it and use it throughout the base to kind of relieve the pressure off of the other processes. So I'm not ruling out Varrocks for formic acid. It just doesn't make sense right now for me. Once I got done with the Varrock upgrades, I came over here and I finally was able to get a separate moss unloader for pyscience 2. This has been a problem for a while. I just kind of dealt with it. You know, I'm like, well, all right, I know I'm going to get through the science and it's going to end. And then I'm going to be forever waiting to get the next science pack done. But I knew this is something I have to do. So I just knocked it out. What I have is a small unload here. And I don't need this. Well, yeah, I do need the gigantic case here, the deposit, because all these belts are coming out of it now. So all the small onesie twosies here I have here. Now I'm going to up this to 200, 150 because, you know, I'm able to produce more now. The moss build is 1700 to 1000. And with the moss upgrades and the better loading now, I should be able to handle this, I hope. And then I got this separate fluid unloading here, or unloading. And I upped the amounts that I'm bringing here. So the honey is 14,000 with a threshold of 10. So that's 4,000 a piece there. Flavonoids, I'm hoping will be better because that is fully upgraded now. All right, here I am at the bones build. I'm using the AUGS rendering to get bones for the sciences. It's the animal sample and then fish stuff. I think it's fish food and other things. So this is fully upgraded MKO2 AUGS, and the paddocks are MKO2 as well. So this thing is fast. You'll notice that I have no Relasias here. Uh-oh, they're on a train now. I'm going back on my word, but don't worry, I'll go over that in a second. I changed the recipe, and this thing eats a lot of material. So I actually had to have this thing because it's so much better. I'm bringing in the raw fiber and the bedding now. So all the recipes are changed. So I get more pups and I get more AUG breeding out of this. Now with this new recipe, you can see that it's very daunting to get belts around this thing. So I decided to just go up through the center and use the mini loaders and the red belt undergrounds, which are amazing. And feeding the breeder complexes here it's really daunting. As you can see, I had to use the undergrounds and splitters, and the only way I could use inserters. They just could not keep up with the speed of the pup creators here. So I actually had to use this strategy here. After I watched it for a while, I'm like, this ain't gonna work. Long arms, forget it. Fast inserters, stack inserters, forget it. Only mini loaders could do the job. What's kind of nice is I have a central belt here now for the empty barrels to go back and get refilled. And then also keep in mind, there are 8 items that have to be fed into both of these, the paddock and the breeder. So I had to factor this to a half belt of native flora as well as all the other stuff. The lacking here is sap. So let me get into that really quick. So here is sap MKO3 it's MKO3 sap trees to sap. I don't want to go into this thing in detail here right now, but as you can see, this thing can kick out 78 to 93 sap. And there's a couple little feedback loops that we have to consider here. And what's interesting is it kicks out fertilizer and biomass. I thought that was very odd. Remember I mentioned farming and I wasn't going to train this stuff? I lied. No, I didn't lie. I already kind of felt this a long time ago as I was progressing through this mod. And yeah, it's a thing now. So what you're seeing here is Relasia seeds, Reina seeds, Grod and Grod seeds, Guar and Guar seeds, all trainable. I wasn't sure about the rail here, so what I did is I think I had a curve down already, and I took this portion of the rail, and what you do is I have this blueprint flipper up here, so it takes it and flips it, but you have to be careful of the signals because it might not work. The signals stay the same, so it turns a right-hand drive into a left-hand drive sometimes, I think is what it's doing. So you have to re-signal rail if you do the flipper. Now, there's a couple things going on here. First off, I'm using kike helks for biomass. More on that later. I forgot to put in the course faction, so it went in up here. Got the big unloader here, and I centered it, so now it's aesthetically pleasing. I was so excited to get started with this, I forgot about soil and limestone. So that is over here now. And I would have rather had the limestone and soil over here by coarse faction and this kite calc thing going on. Another thing I forgot to do was I wanted to bring in iron plate on a different case as well as lamps. But I produce iron at a pretty good rate, so I'm not worried about the iron plate. So I set it to 1100, 1000. Now I'm going to adjust these numbers as I see fit though, and this is just to get started. So here's the lamps, and I kind of screwed up on this one. I should have moved the bus down, and the lamps I would have rather had come down at a curve like this over here. But the sideways unloading like this worked out pretty well because it actually melded into the bus that I have here, which is cool. I have 3 extra lanes here left for additional items. I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure out what I want to bring over here as far as farming is concerned. There might be a couple more things I want to bring over. So I have 3 belts left over here. Now, when the belts run out, then I'm going to have to add another loader to bring in an extra item. But I'm already pretty tight here, so it's going to be kind of interesting. So I put the relays in Helmod, and I factored 1 to seeds, and then I did a separate Helmod entry for the flowers. And you'll notice that when you do flowers, in this case, the seed production goes down because the seeds are keeping the flowers going and the extra is going to the case. It's the other way around, and you can see that the seed production goes up higher. Obviously, you need less flowers for the seeds in this case. And so it's kind of a cool, mathematical project there. The same thing happened with the guar and the grod. As you can see, the seeds are, when the seed is the focus, obviously you're going to have a lot of seeds producers there. And with the guar. But the reina, this one was a dog. And I don't know if I did something wrong. I might revisit this, probably will. And I think what's going on here is the botanical gardens are a set speed. And here, let's mouse over this. It's a craft speed of 2. You can't put modules in these. You can't put speed, prod, you can't put flower modules, nothing. What's driving this is the modules themselves in the growers, right? In this case, it's the plantation for the reina. So once we get MKO2 and higher of the modules, the the plant production will shrink, and that will allow us to do more seed production. So this is kind of an interesting little, I guess you could say a really kind of an eye-opening concept on how important the higher level modules are when you're doing the farming and also the animal stuff. The better the module, the better the machine, the more you're going to get out of it, obviously, and well, it's faster. But you also have to consider the inputs. It's about supplying it more than building it, and that's always an issue when it comes to Factorio. And this base is getting pretty big, so I might have to consider some satellite builds with stone and gravel and other things like biomass and whatnot. Speaking of biomass, so I have this basic recipe here for kite calcs, and the way I'm looking at it is this. The trees, what's involved versus the kite calcs in this case? Well, we need moss for the trees, right? We need muddy sludge, that's power, a lot of it too. And then for the moss, it's stone, iron, the iron for the faction, coarse faction. And we also have carbon dioxide. With the kite calcs here, it's straight out power. So it's raw coal. And don't forget, we have to power the tree generator too. So that's raw coal times, and the carbon dioxide depends on where it's coming from. If it's coming from, byproducts, or is it coming from raw coal? Is it coming from the coke, a coke process or whatever? So carbon dioxide can get expensive and power hungry too. So this build here, as you can see, produces 10 kite calcs, and we have 4 that create 280 biomass. So the composter here, I think, has to have 4 to produce 280. So if you divide that out, it's 70 per tree. I like this recipe because it only consumes power. When it's idle, it's very minimal power. So I'm going to be using this in the animal parts collection area, and I'll show you that right now. So here is the, wood to biomass here. And I added the kite calc build. I just put it in here as a placeholder for now. Now, the clay pit can generate a lot of clay, so I'll be able to use more kite calc plantations here. And the water and steam will be fine. I don't have to worry about that either. So I think it'll be one seed generator to maybe, a whole bunch of plantations. And then I can even increase the composters at this point because these get bound up. I can't export fast enough, even with the red belt mini loader. So what I have is the wood is shutting off at 2,000 biomass here, and this belt is shutting off at 8,000. My hope is that the wood won't have to run anymore. And then I'll just come back over here and I'll just completely go kike-elks. And I like the idea that I don't have to bring anything in, and it's just requiring power in the form of whatever, fuel we're using. Right now I'm using raw coal to, the other coal forms. So that's a pretty good system. I like it. And did I forget to mention the Dingrat's in the train now? He thinks he's escaping, but no, he's not. Poor thing. All right, back to the aerogel. Oh boy, this thing. So my plan here is to do methane separately from everything here. And then I'm going to do a formaldehyde build. And then a melamine resin build. I already have the melamine on a train from the green circuit or simple circuit build. And you don't need it very much for production. And if I do need it for production, I can just make it on site. Because we're only bringing in 2 gases, the ammonia and the cyanic. So I'm not too worried about that. The melamine, however, is bringing urea in. So I'm going to build these together and offer melamine to the network. I do need this for building stuff like the windmills and all that. So it'd be nice to have that in, being brought into the hub via train. Going back to formaldehyde, I'm going to need that for a bunch of other things. And I can retroactively go back and train in the formaldehyde and pull machines out and then have a focused build as opposed to having all these little builds all over the place internal. I'm trying to get away from that now because we're going to have to be moving a lot of stuff. And the less I have to move, the better going forward. So I'm kind of switching my strategy to internal builds to more focused builds that can carry a lot in one train load. And the same thing goes with methane. We're going to need methane, for a lot of different things. So getting back to the aerogel here, we're going to bring in sodium hydroxide and the melamine resin, and that's it. So just water and limestone, and this thing's kicking out our aerogel. And then we can build the Dhilmos breeding thing, finally, and then the filters. So let's get cracking. All right, we got the aerogel and an autosave. There we go. Haha. Well, man, this is a lot of work for this little thing, man. I tell you, looks cool though. I like it. It's like a ball of a water droplet, you know. It's just very weird. You've got all these phases here, you know. You got the RF gel, and then the clear RF gel. You spin it with water, and then you get the tailings out here. Yeah, it's filling up now. There we go. So I guess it's spinning out some impurities there. And then we get, yeah, there's acetone in this. So clear to soaked. So we're soaking it with acetone. So it's a very interesting process. All kinds of stages here. Now, we've done this before, I think. Resorcinol, that was for the epoxy. But I didn't use this recipe because I didn't want to do the melamine. And now that I've got the melamine here, well, we'll make it. So yeah, more sodium hydroxide. You know, eventually I'll get the sodium hydroxide build done, but right now we're in build mode, getting the aliens. You know, we're working on the last one, really, the Arquid MKO2. So, oh my gosh, this build! Look at this, man. This is 4 industries here. 4 industries, basically. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it works out to break this out in stages. And the way I look at it here, you want to talk about hungry for steam? This thing, I didn't realize it, but it's 450 steam 4 seconds, 100 steam a second. So I added more steam. I don't know if I'm going to include it in the quick speed up video there. We got the BTX Nexalit for this, and then it's offered to the network. Now, this is very fast. You get a lot of methane out of this quick. So I like this recipe here, but it's very difficult to maintain it. And then formaldehyde here with the molybdenum, boom. Now, each phase here, as you can see, is feeding to the next one. So if I take from here, I hope that formaldehyde isn't being taken as well. But here's what happens. If formaldehyde, or let's say the methane gets pulled, and then the formaldehyde will continue, right? Then any other build looking for methane, the train won't be able to get here. You know, and I have these set to 10,000 here. So if it drops to 9,900 or 9,000 or whatever, then it's just not offered to the network. That's how that works. So when you're daisy chaining builds, but you're also offering it, you know, like this is used for here, for the formaldehyde, you know, eventually this will build back up and then a train will be able to be deployed. So that's kind of how I look at it. And then formaldehyde gets piped on over, and we got the melamine. I forgot that, well, I had this wrong, incorrect. What do you call it? This stuff here. I could probably move. You know what? Now that I think about it, I could probably do this right across this way. Well, it's okay. So I forgot. And it was an easy fix. So we have the two, you know, the cyanic acid and the ammonia, making the melamine. I'm venting both these other things, the carbon dioxide and the muddy sludge. I really don't understand the muddy sludge. My thinking is, if I can vent it, then don't put it in here. What am I gonna do with it? I'm not gonna train muddy sludge around. I can do it on site, you know, with water and the washer and soil, right? It's very easy to produce, and so just take it out of the recipe unless they're trying to be, you know, true to the way it's made. Then I'm okay with it, but I haven't looked into this recipe here, real life, you know. So anyway, I had this thing going here, which is why I had the belt, you know, the underground going here. So the melamine comes out, and with all this mess of pipes, I just had to belt it out of here, I guess. Just seemed easier. Then there's the urea here. And then I'm using this water for this process here. And why did it stop? Oh, these are very slow. Yeah, the centrifuge recipe here, it's 70 seconds. Holy cow. And you don't want to speed these suckers up. But I factored this So, it's not creating a lot of aerogel. It's just kind of trickling out. I'm okay with that, So anyway, yeah, just one. I piped the water over for the limestone here because this isn't going to be a big, producer here. So I can trickle off a little bit of water from that other build over here. As you can see, it's not even running right now. So basically that water is kind of sitting there. So anyway, we got tailings here. And the reason tailings is very important because we need the tailings dust. We need, the acid gas from the filter, filtering it, this tailings liquid. So anywhere there's tailings, I am capturing it because it's so important, at least right now. All right, so we got the acetone. Now we've got this stuff here. Let me check this out here. Oh, I got to set this to 50 on that. Glad I looked. And the counter set. Yeah, we're good there. Okay. So, yeah, I forgot about the acetone, but I'm getting close to the end here. So, I forgot about the acetone, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I got to get this thing, the tailings tank pickup here. This is TSM doing this. So I'm like, oh, you know what? Since I had to push this up because I was running out of room for this stuff here. So I'm like, okay, let me just push this build up, and I'll get the acetone in, and I'll get the tailings in. So it worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. And you can see I was running out of room over here. So I had to do this sideways thing for these two here. Otherwise, it would have been boink, boink, boink. I would have had, 3 more pop-ups, and I would have been all the way over here. So it worked out pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with this build. It worked out pretty good. All right, let's go make the Dingrit pool. I want to see what that looks like. And there it is, the Dingrit pool. Holy cow. Oh, let's see what this is. All right, so I don't know if I need 2 of these. I think, I think I need, okay, this takes the cub phytoplankton. Okay, good. I'm glad I have that on the train network. Saline water for salt water, cool. And we get a cub to a Dhilmo on this one. And what I need is the cub one, so that must be here. Ah, so we get the egg, Ralasia seeds. Well, looky there. We got to feed it seeds. Saline water, hot air. We got to warm them up. Oh, that's fun. All right, so we'll pick that. And there it is. Let's see what this... Oh, look, they got a stairway going down. Some kind of thing here. Looks like a hatch. Let's spin this thing. Oh, wastewater. Okay, it makes sense. Yeah, it's like a trit or whatever, the sea creatures, because they pee in the water. You got to filter it. I've got a Dhilmo here. We'll pop them in. And what's the speed on this? It's 0.25. What are you, 100? Yeah, 100 on that, so it'd be 500. Yeah, 500. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that and this. So I've got this one. Oh, here's the filtration right here. Oh, okay. So we get the egg from, the modules are the mating guys. And we get the egg. And saline water filtration, phytoplankton. We get the egg. And then the egg goes in here with seeds. So they eat the seeds. The egg matures. And we get the cub. Okay. Okay, and then I got to make another one of these for the maturing. But if we look at this one here, we just need a cub. So let's take a look at the Dhilmo itself for rendering. And I want to see what comes out of that. Oh, interesting. We get chitin from this little guy. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking I probably jumped the gun on this one here, but we needed to get it out of the way though, and I want to get the filtration in. So off episode, what I'll do is I'll take the gel and I'll retrofit the gel with the filtration unit. And I don't know how much of the gel. I'm going to keep both systems in place because I want to. I can't rely on the gel yet. I don't feel comfortable with it because, man, it is so slow. But, we get 100 out of this gel. And it is such a big industry. I mean, you look at this. It's like, okay, I got to do all this for 97 more filtration unit media, or the filtration media. Is it worth it? But it's not drawing much from the overall process here. So anyway, I'll take a look at that next episode. I'll show you what I got. I'll most likely just retrofit something in, and at least I'll have something going, because that filtration is pretty important going forward with all the stuff we're doing with animals, and you know, it's just it gets more and more and more, right? So, but I want to get these guys spun up here. I'm tempted to just bioengineer these, and so I need 3 and 4, so I need 7 more. I mean, I like to spin them up, but I don't need the matured ones, you know? I need the cubs. This is the cub one. So maybe, yeah, maybe I'll just spin them up, you know, get the modules from the, you know, the process of, you know, bioengineering them, because I don't need, I would need to mature them in one of these. So, you know what, let's check and see if I got another one. So I want to see what's involved in that again. Bonk. All right, let's take a look at the maturing. So oh, that's not bad at all. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just saline water phytoplankton, and we get the cub matured. Yeah, this is much cheaper. Yeah, there's no reason for me to run around like a fool and trying to do all that. Let's go like that, I guess. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So yeah, we could spin these up very easily. Get the adults so we could feed. Well, I got to get the. Oh yeah, I could take the module out of here, put it in this one temporarily to get the cub matured, and then it takes an egg. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's 20 eggs to 20. What? Wait a minute. Is that what did I miss that? Oh, wow. We need 20 eggs as a requirement to get 20 Dhilmo cubs. Holy cripes. And then 1 cub to 1. Wow. So this just needs to run. Oh, okay. So we need to run this 10 times. And again, it's not a big deal. You know, we get the Dhilmo egg out of it. So 10 times on that. Then we get 20 Dhilmos out of it. And I don't need them all, because really all I need the thing is for this right here. All right, well, let's end it here. We got the aerogel. I'm happy about that. And I'll get this spun up here. I'll showcase it next episode what I got. But it's what I'll do is I'll probably do it locally, maybe in the bio hub here. And because I think I got phytoplankton coming in. Oh, here, yeah. So I got phytoplankton here. It was hard to see. And I got even saline water, and I got hot air, too. Look at this. So I have all 3 things in the biohub, and the hot air is being piped, or barreled. Same with the phytoplankton. The saline water is not. Where is that going? It's going way up here. Okay, so it's here. And yeah, I'd probably put the guys here. So I might have to, if I barrel the saline water, you know, I'll do that. And then I'll put the little Dhilmo guys up here. It's kind of tight, so I might have to go over here. This space I'll leave for something else, something small. All right, well, I'll work on that, and I'll showcase what I got. Oh boy, this aerogel kicked my butt. It was a lot of work. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace out.